She was branded a pleasure beast, until one human named her and showed mercy. Valthor's drift hung like a rusted scar against the crimson glow of a dying star. The mining station, a sprawling tangle of steel and desperation, orbited low, its corridors thick with the hum of overworked generators and the stink of recycled air. Miners, smugglers, and mercenaries jostled through its markets, their voices a constant roar beneath flickering neon signs. Elias Cord didn't belong here. Not really. But he'd learned long ago that belonging was a luxury he couldn't afford. A human mechanic with hands stained by grease and a past stained by worse. He kept his head down, his tools close, and his regrets closer. He was elbow-deep in the guts of a derelict freighter when the noise caught him. Not the usual clatter of the station's docks. Something sharper, hungrier. Laughter, raw and jagged, echoed from the lower levels, where the station's underbelly hid its ugliest deals. Elias wiped sweat from his brow, his gray eyes narrowing. He'd come to Valthor's drift for parts, a new relay for his shuttle's nav core, maybe a coil to keep the Starling from coughing itself to death. Curiosity wasn't on the list, but the sound tugged at him, like a hook snagged in his chest. He followed it, down rusted ladders and through tunnels where the lights barely worked. The air grew thicker, heavy with the scent of burned wiring, and something sour, like fear. At the end of a narrow passage, he found a crowd packed into a cavernous chamber, its walls patched with scrap metal. Shadows clung to the edges, but the center blazed under harsh white spotlights. A platform stood there, ringed by syndicate guards in black armor, their rifles glinting. Elias slipped into the back, his jacket hood pulled low, and leaned against a pillar. He didn't know what he was looking at, but he knew it wasn't good. On the platform, a figure in gilded robes strutted like he owned the stars themselves, lords and scavengers of Valthor's drift. The man boomed, his voice slick with practice. "Tonight, we honor a triumph." The crowd roared, though Elias caught the edge of it, forced, fueled by drink and obligation. The man gestured to a hulking alien in the front row, his scales glinting green under the lights. Kravos, warlord of the Syndicate's Third Fleet, who broke the rebellion on Calyx 4 and delivered its leaders to the void. Kravos stood, his clawed hand raised, soaking in the cheers. Elias's jaw tightened. He'd heard of Calyx 4. Whole cities burned, thousands gone. Syndicate victories weren't clean. He shifted, ready to leave, when the guards parted and the air changed. The crowd fell silent, not out of respect, but something greedier. A woman stepped onto the platform, or was pushed. Elias couldn't tell. She was tall, her skin a soft silver that shimmered like liquid starlight. Her hair, dark as the void, fell in waves around her shoulders, framing a face that was sharp and still, like a statue carved from grief. Her eyes, wide and amber, stared at nothing. The robed man circled her, grinning. "Behold," he said, "a Cellerite crafted on Voron Prime, perfected for service, Unit 19 Delta, certified under Syndicate law as a biologically enhanced asset. No will, no defiance, only obedience." He paused, letting the words sink in. "A pleasure animal, as we call them, gifted to Kravos for his loyalty." The crowd erupted, shouts, whistles, ugly laughter. Elias's fists clenched inside his pockets. He'd seen plenty in his years running from one edge of the galaxy to another. Slavery wasn't new. But this was a ritual, a performance, and it turned his stomach. The woman, Unit 19 Delta, didn't move, didn't blink, but Elias caught something. A flicker in her eyes, so brief he might have imagined it. Not fear, not surrender, defiance. "She doesn't speak," the robed man continued, "doesn't think beyond her purpose. Kravos, come claim your reward." The warlord lumbered forward, his claws scraping the platform. The woman's shoulders tensed, barely, but Elias saw it. She wasn't gone, not completely. Something in her was still fighting. He shouldn't have cared. He'd walked away from worse. Had to survive. But standing there, watching Kravos reach for her like she was a trophy, Elias saw his sister's face instead. Mara, laughing, promising they'd find a better life. Mara, gone when the syndicate raided their colony. His fault for not being faster, stronger. The memory burned, and with it, something snapped. He moved before he could think it through. His hand found the power conduit behind the pillar, a shoddy thing, like everything on Valthor's drift. He yanked his multi-tool from his belt, sliced the casing, and crossed 2 wires. Sparks flew, and the chamber plunged into darkness. Screams erupted, guards shouted, and Elias was already running. He hit the platform in 3 strides, dodging a guard's clumsy swing. The woman hadn't moved, frozen under the chaos. "Come on," he hissed, grabbing her wrist. She flinched but didn't pull away. He tugged her toward the platform's edge, where a maintenance hatch gaped open. The crowd was a mess, people shoving, guards firing blindly. Elias dove for the hatch, pulling her with him. The tunnel was tight, damp, and smelled of rust. His boots pounded the metal floor, her bare feet silent behind him. Alarms screamed overhead, red lights pulsing. "Keep up," he called, not looking back. She did, faster than he expected, her breath sharp but steady. They hit a junction, and Elias skidded to a stop, scanning the paths. Left led to the docks. His shuttle, the Starling, was there. Right went deeper into the station. He chose left. The docks were chaos, workers scattering, drones buzzing. Elias spotted the Starling, a dented relic tucked between sleek syndicate cruisers. "There," he said, pointing. She nodded, the first sign she understood. They sprinted, but a syndicate guard stepped into their path, rifle raised. Elias didn't slow. He tackled the guard, slamming him into a crate. The rifle clattered free, and Elias kicked it away. "Move," he shouted, shoving her toward the Starling's ramp. She hesitated, her amber eyes searching his face, then ran. Elias followed, slamming the hatch shut as he dove inside. The control panel lit up under his hands, and the Starling's engines coughed to life. "Hold on," he yelled, not sure she'd listen. The shuttle lurched, scraping the dock's edge as it broke free. Syndicate drones swarmed, their lasers grazing the hull. Elias gritted his teeth, weaving through the station's outer rings. The woman sat strapped into the co-pilot's seat, silent, her hands gripping the armrests. He didn't look at her. Couldn't, not yet. They cleared Valthor's drift, the dying star's glow fading behind them. The Starling groaned, but it held. Elias set a course for nowhere, deep into the void, where syndicate signals wouldn't reach. Only then did he glance at her. She was staring at the stars, her face unreadable. "You're safe now," he said, voice rough. She didn't answer, but her eyes flicked to him, and that flicker of defiance was still there. Elias leaned back, heart pounding. He'd just burned every bridge he had left. And for what? A stranger who didn't even speak. But as the Starling drifted into the black, he felt something he hadn't in years. Purpose. She wasn't a reward, not a thing. She was someone, and he'd make damn sure she knew it. The Starling drifted through the nebulous haze, a faint shimmer of violet and gold wrapping the shuttle like a shroud. Elias Kor slouched in the pilot's chair, his fingers tapping the console, eyes scanning readouts that flickered with bad news. The nav core was glitching again. The power cells were down to 30%, and the hull had taken a hit from those syndicate drones. Nothing critical, but enough to make every groan of the ship feel personal. He muttered a curse, then glanced over his shoulder. She sat in the corner of the cockpit, knees drawn up, her silver skin catching the nebula's glow through the viewport. Her dark hair spilled over her shoulders, and her amber eyes were fixed on the swirling colors outside. She hadn't spoken since Valthor's drift, hadn't asked where they were going or why he'd risked his neck to pull her out of that auction. Elias didn't know what to make of her. Unit 19 Delta, the syndicate had called her. A Cellarite, engineered for servitude, stripped of everything that made her a person. But those eyes, sharp and searching, told a different story. He cleared his throat. "You hungry?" No answer, just a slight tilt of her head. He sighed, stood, and rummaged through the storage locker. The starling wasn't built for comfort. Rations were all he had. He pulled out a packet of protein paste and a water bulb, setting them on the console near her. "It's not much, but it's clean." She didn't move, but her gaze flicked to the food, then back to him. Elias sat again, pretending to check the scanners. He wasn't good at this. Talking, connecting. He'd spent years alone, fixing ships, dodging trouble. People were complicated, and she was something else entirely. The console beeped, sharp and urgent. Elias snapped forward, hands flying over the controls. The proximity alert. Something was out there, cutting through the nebula's interference. "Damn it," he muttered, pulling up the sensor feed. A ship, small and fast, with a syndicate signature. Not close yet, but close enough. They'd picked up the starling's trail. He glanced at her. "They're looking for you." She tensed, her hands tightening on her knees, but she didn't look scared, just focused, like she was calculating something. Elias didn't wait for her to respond. He punched in a new course, angling deeper into the nebula where the gas clouds were thickest. The starling shuddered, its engines straining. "Hold tight," he said, more to himself than her. The nebula's currents played hell with the sensors, but Elias knew how to read them. He'd run from worse than syndicate scouts, pirates, debt collectors, his own ghosts. He adjusted the thrusters, keeping the shuttle low and quiet, skimming along the edge of a plasma storm. The scout ship's signal flickered, then steadied, gaining ground. Elias gritted his teeth. The starling wasn't built for speed, and he couldn't outrun them forever. He turned to her, half expecting her to be frozen, but she was leaning forward, studying the console. "You know ships?" he asked, surprised. She hesitated, then nodded, a small, deliberate motion. "They taught us to understand," she said, her voice soft, like it hadn't been used in years. "Not to fly, to serve." The words hit like a punch. Elias swallowed, focusing on the controls. "All right. You see that panel?" He pointed to the auxiliary display, where the power grid blinked red. "It's the core. Keeps overheating. If it goes, we're dead in the water." She moved closer, her fingers hovering over the screen. "It's unbalanced," she said, her voice steadier now. "The energy flow. I can feel it." "Feel it?" Elias frowned, but there wasn't time to question. "Can you fix it?" She didn't answer with words. Her hands moved, quick and precise, tapping commands into the panel. The red warning slowed, then turned amber. The starling's hum steadied, the engines kicking harder. Elias stared, not sure whether to be impressed or unnerved. "How'd you do that?" Her eyes met his, and for the first time, there was something like pride in them. "Cellarites. We sense energy. They tried to take it away, but it's still there." He nodded, filing that away. "Good. Keep it up." The scout ship was closer now, its signal cutting through the nebula's noise. Elias banked the starling toward a collapsing star at the nebula's edge, its gravity well a gamble he didn't want to take, but had no choice. "This is gonna get rough," he warned. She strapped into the co-pilot's seat without being told, her hands braced. Elias pushed the throttle, the starling diving toward the star's pull. The scout ship followed, lasers flashing, grazing the shields. Elias wove through debris fields, chunks of rock and ice spinning in the star's orbit. The gravity tugged harder, the shuttle groaning under the strain. "Hang on," he shouted, yanking the controls. The starling spun, slingshotting around the star's edge, using its pull to fling them out of the nebula. The scout ship wasn't ready. It veered too close, caught in the gravity well, and vanished in a flare of light. Elias exhaled, easing the throttle. The starling was clear, drifting into open space. He leaned back, wiping sweat from his face. That was too close. She didn't respond, but her hands relaxed, her eyes on the stars again. Elias watched her for a moment, then spoke. "You're not Unit 19 Delta. That's their name for you, not yours." She turned, her expression unreadable. "What then?" He hesitated. The name came unbidden, tied to a memory he buried deep. "Zara," he said. "It was my sister's name. Means light, or something like it." She repeated it softly, testing the sound. "Zora." Her lips curved, not quite a smile, but close. "I like it." Elias nodded, turning back to the console to hide the tightness in his chest. "Good. Zara it is." He set a new course toward a rumor he'd heard years ago. A free colony, Haven Reach, where people like them could start over. It was a long shot, but long shots were all he had left. The starling hummed, carrying them deeper into the void. Zara watched the stars, and Elias watched her, wondering what else she was hiding, and whether he was ready for what came next. Haven Reach wasn't what Elias expected. Tucked inside a hollowed-out asteroid, the free colony was a patchwork of salvaged ships and scrapped habitats, lit by strings of mismatched lights. It buzzed with life. Humans, aliens, families, all moving with the cautious hope of people who'd escaped the Syndicate's grip. The Starling docked in a cramped bay, and Elias led Zora through the colony's tunnels, her bare feet silent on the cold metal floor. She hadn't spoken much since the nebula, but her eyes took in everything, every face, every sound, like she was memorizing it. The colony's leader, a wiry human named Heron, met them at the central hub. She was all sharp edges, her gray hair cropped short, her eyes scanning Zara like a sensor. "You're welcome here," Terran said, her voice clipped. "But we don't take risks." Not with Syndicate tech. Her gaze lingered on Zara, who stood still, her silver skin catching the light. "She's not tech," Elias said, sharper than he meant. "She's a person." Terran raised an eyebrow. "We'll see. Quarters are that way. Clean up, eat, then we talk." Their quarters were small, just a bunk and a table, but Zara paused at the door, her fingers brushing the frame. "This is mine?" she asked, her voice soft. "Ours," Elias corrected. "For now." She nodded, stepping inside, and he caught the faintest smile on her lips. It was enough to make the ache in his chest loosen. Just a little. Haven Reach wasn't paradise. The colony survived on scraps, trading with smugglers, and dodging Syndicate patrols. Elias spent the first day fixing a generator, his hands moving on autopilot while his mind churned. Zara stayed close, watching, sometimes helping with small tasks. She was quick, precise, and when she adjusted a power relay without being told, the other mechanics stared. Elias caught their whispers. Cellerite, Syndicate, danger. He ignored them, but the tension gnawed at him. That night, Terran called them to the hub. "We've got a problem," she said, tossing a cracked data chip onto the table. "Found this in the comms array. Syndicate beacon. Low frequency. Someone's broadcasting our location." Elias's stomach dropped. "How long's it been active?" "Days, maybe weeks," Terran said. "Long enough to draw attention." Her eyes flicked to Zara. "You know anything about this?" Zara stiffened, her hands tightening. "No," she said, her voice steady but thin. "I don't." Elias stepped forward. "She's been with me. She didn't do this." Terran's jaw tightened. Cellarites are conditioned. She might not even know she's a threat. "She's not." Elias snapped. Zora's eyes met his, and he saw it again. That flicker of defiance, stronger now. He turned to Terran. "Give us a chance to prove it." Terran hesitated, then nodded. "Find the beacon. Disable it. You've got 12 hours. Back in their quarters, Zara sat on the bunk, her hands clasped. "They're right to doubt me," she said quietly. "I don't remember everything. Pieces are missing." Elias crouched in front of her. "You're not a spy. "I've seen you fight, Zara. Not with weapons. With this." He tapped his temple. "You're stronger than they know." She looked away, her fingers tracing the edge of the bunk. "I see things sometimes. Flashes, a city, glowing, with towers like coral. My people. Before. Your home?" Elias asked. "Maybe," she whispered. "It's gone now." He didn't push. Instead, he pulled out his multi-tool. "Come on. Let's find that beacon." They started in the comms array, a tangle of wires and ancient relays. Elias scanned for signals, but Zara moved differently. She closed her eyes, her hands hovering, like she was feeling the air. "Here," she said, pointing to a panel. "It's singing. Singing." Elias frowned but followed her lead. He pried the panel open, and there it was, a syndicate beacon, no bigger than his fist, pulsing faintly. "Nice work," he said, grinning. She didn't smile, but her shoulders relaxed. Disabling it wasn't simple. The beacon was rigged to fry the array if tampered with. Elias cursed, his tools too clumsy for the delicate work. Zara leaned in. "I can do it," she said. Before he could argue, her fingers moved, quick and sure, rerouting the circuits. The beacon's light died, and the array stayed online. Elias stared. "Where'd you learn that?" She shook her head. "I just knew." They reported back to Terran, who looked grudgingly impressed. "You're clear," she said to Zara. "For now." But as they left, an alarm blared. Syndicate ships, inbound, fast. The colony scrambled. Elias grabbed Zora, pulling her to the defense hub. Terran was barking orders, arming anyone who could hold a weapon. "They found us," she said. "Beacon or not, they're here." Elias glanced at Zara, who stood calm, her eyes scanning the chaos. "You ready?" he asked. She nodded. "For you? Yes." The syndicate strike team hit hard, drones and shock troopers breaching the outer tunnels. Elias and Zara joined the defenders, moving through the colony's maze. He jury-rigged traps, overloaded conduits, collapsing bulkheads, while Zara guided them, sensing the enemy's tech. Together, they turned Haven-Reach scrap into weapons, funneling the troopers into a kill zone. The final stand came at the hub. A drone swarm broke through, and Elias tackled Zara out of a laser's path. She rolled, grabbing a fallen rifle, and fired, not like a soldier, but like someone who'd just remembered how to fight. The drones fell, and the troopers retreated, their ships pulling back under Haven-Reach's counterfire. The colony cheered, but Elias saw Zara's face, haunted, alive. "You okay?" he asked. She touched her temple. "More. Came back. My people. They fought, too." He nodded. "We'll find out why. Together." Haven-Reach was safe, but Zara's memories were waking. And with them, a purpose neither of them could ignore. The planet was a ghost, its surface cracked and gray, orbiting a star that barely warmed it. Zara had led them here, her memories sharpening like a blade. She called it Silvera, a Cellerite name, though the Syndicate's charts marked it as a dead world. The Starling touched down near a ruin. Towers like coral, half collapsed, their surfaces glinting with veins of crystal. Elias followed Zora through the rubble, his boots crunching, her steps silent. She moved like she belonged here, her silver skin blending with the stone. "This was home," she said, her voice soft but certain. "Before they took us." Elias nodded, his hand on the pistol at his hip. The air was still, but it felt heavy, like the planet was watching. They found the temple at the ruin's heart, a domed chamber carved with patterns that pulsed faintly under Zora's touch. Inside, consoles flickered, ancient but alive. Zora ran her fingers over them, her eyes distant. "They hid something here," she said. "Something the Syndicate feared." He didn't ask what. She'd tell him when she was ready. Instead, he scanned the chamber, his mechanic's eye catching details. Power conduits, still active. Data nodes, intact. "This place is a vault," he said. "Your people built to last." She nodded, her hands moving faster now, coaxing the consoles to life. Images flared, Cellarite cities, glowing under twin suns, ships rising, not for war but exploration. People like Zara, their eyes bright with purpose. Then darker scenes, syndicate fleets, fire, chains. "We fought," she whispered, "and lost." "Not all of you," Elias said. "You're here." Her eyes met his, and for the first time, she smiled. "Small, real, because of you." He looked away, his chest tight. Just did what felt right. The consoles chimed, and a hidden panel slid open, revealing a crystal orb, no bigger than a fist, pulsing with light. Zara reached for it, hesitant. "It's us," she said. "Our strength." They couldn't take it all. Before Elias could ask what she meant, the starling's comms crackled. "Core," Terran's voice from Haven Reach, patched through a relay. "Syndicate ships just jumped in system. Krivos's flagship. They're coming for you." Elias cursed. "How'd they find us?" Zara's hand froze on the orb. "Me," she said. "The beacon. It's still in me." He remembered. The tracker, buried deep, dormant but not dead. "We'll burn it out," he said, grabbing his tools. "Now." She shook her head. "No time. They're here." The ground shook, syndicate dropships landing outside. Elias pulled Zara behind a pillar as Krivos's voice boomed through the temple, amplified by drones. "Surrender the Cellarite, human, and you might live." Elias grinned, grim. "Not today." He looked at Zara. "You ready to fight?" She clutched the orb, its light flaring in her hands. For Silvera, yes. The battle was chaos. Krivos's troopers stormed the temple, their lasers carving stone. Elias moved like he was born for this, ducking, weaving, using the ruins for cover. He rigged traps, overloaded conduits, falling debris, while Zara unleashed something new. The orb's energy flowed through her hands glowing, as she disrupted the troopers' tech, frying drones mid-flight. She wasn't just fighting, she was commanding the battlefield. Krivos came last, a hulking shadow in the temple's heart. "You're mine." "Cellarite," he growled, raising a plasma blade. Zara didn't flinch. She lifted the orb, and its light pulsed, a wave that staggered Krivos. Elias seized the moment, tackling the warlord, his pistol jamming against Krivos's armor. The shot echoed, and Krivos fell. The syndicate fleet faltered, their comms scrambled by Zara's power. Haven Reach ships, alerted by Terran, jumped in, hammering the enemy from orbit. The temple stood, and so did they. Later, Zara held the orb, its light softer now. "This can free my people," she said. "Break their chains." Elias nodded. "Then we'll do it. Together." She looked at him, her eyes bright. "Zara. It's a good name." He smiled. "Yeah, it is." They left Silvera, the starling rising toward the stars. Zara wasn't a reward anymore. She was a leader, a spark. And Elias, for the first time, felt like he'd found a fight worth everything.